When we pull up the gallery with all these patrons and lovers of art, and I'd like to introduce our two artists that are having the mother and daughter show here today, Mary Ryding and Drea Ryding, and I'll tell you a little bit about their education, etc. to begin with, and then I'll let them talk about their work wherever they want to bring that. Let's see, Drea was actually born right here in Warren and raised in Kane, Pennsylvania, and she spent college in, actually you were in at Cambridge Springs. Wait, no, I'm sorry, I got that wrong. Meadville. You worked in Cambridge Springs at Campbell Pottery, but you were at Allegheny College. And then you moved down to Austin, Texas, where she also worked in feats of clay pottery, and also at Sunset Canyon Pottery. She returned to Pennsylvania recently, and we were glad to bring her here with her mother to show her work. And Mary was actually born a little further away on the edge of the Bering Sea. And I'm sure everybody has questions about that, what you mean by having your eyes wide open and your mouth clamped shut.
No, literally, I was born with my eyes open and my mouth shut, and it's the best way to be. Keep my mouth shut is always better. Just think about it. It's
okay. Well, anyway, she lives now in Kane. She did study art, studio art at Seattle Pacific College in Seattle, Washington, and has an MA in art history from Vermont College in Montpelier. And she's very active in the arts around the area. And I will, including Route 6 Artisan Trail coordinator and art survey classes as an adjunct professor at University of Pittsburgh at Bradford, and directs the artworks at the Depot Artists Cooperative in Kane. And I am going to start with your daughter. So, Drea?
First, thanks all for coming. This is wonderful. And thank you to the Crary and everybody that put it all together. I've been working in art for a while, I guess, in different...
Since you were two.
I was two, evidently. I focus mainly in ceramics, large sculpture, as well as throne vessels. But recently, I've kind of gone to 2D. So I've gotten back into painting and drawing, and I've always had a love of sketchbooks and drawing. So this work is in that field, I guess. There's a lot of symbolism and imagery in my work. I'm working in the healthcare field a little bit now, so there's a lot of ideas on wellness and what it's not. What it's like not to be well as well. So, I don't know, it's just a lot of imagery. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I guess I'll turn it over to you, Mom.
Well, I'd also like to say thank you to the Crary. When we had the hanging, was it Wednesday night? Mm-hmm. What a great bunch of people. It was awesome. The nicest people, and they were so helpful, and we just had a good time, I thought. Some of you struggled, but I had a good time. So thanks to the Crary for being so open and welcoming. I work in layers. I paint with paper and I paint with hot wax. With paper, we call it mixed media or collage, sometimes it's called. And when I paint with hot wax, it's called encaustic, and that is an ancient, very old technique. And I make my own paints. Basically, it's melted beeswax and Damar resin, and I just melt them together, and then I add raw pigment to that. I also teach art history, so I'm really interested in historical kinds of techniques. I've done egg tempera and a few other very old techniques. But encaustic has really been my favorite this winter because it's been very cold and my studio is very cold. So for practical matters, I've been doing encaustic in the winter and my mixed media in the summer because the encaustic keeps my fingers warm. It's really, really very nice. A little bit burning sometimes, but very nice. But both techniques, I basically have the same creative process. I get inspired by wherever I am. I spend a lot of time going out. I have a bucket list of places I have to go to. And I just take my impressions with me and I sketch them out either with pencil or watercolor sketches, and then I take that to the studio. I don't work en plein air. It's just too hard to have my papers blowing away or the hot wax spilling all over the place. So I take the sketches that I do on site back to the studio. And then I work in layers. The papers build up in many layers, and the encaustics, I was telling someone just a little bit ago, some of the encaustics have as many as 20 layers of wax. And you can really kind of see it if you look closely. You can smell them too if you like. They have a really great smell. You can't smell the paper. But I like to take little pieces of where I am and put them into my collages. So you will see little bits of, some of the paper is handmade, some of it I've made. I have handmade paper. I have tea bags because I'm always drinking tea. There's even one that has a little bit of my M&M's wrapper in it. Whatever I'm working with, I like to kind of put that into the time and place in the collage as well. So when I'm layering paper, I'm also layering meaning. And probably the one where that is most evident is the one behind the blinds there that you can look at some point. And then I'll be quiet, I'll shut up after this one. But the one of Mammoth Cave, I'm not a cave person, but it was on my list, so I had to go. I'm a little bit claustrophobic, and I thought, oh, you know, it's gonna be dark, it's gonna be cold, it's gonna be damp. I got in there and I was amazed. That place is huge. The space was huge, and it was awesome. And we had a ranger who took us through. I think his name was Bobby, Ranger Bobby. Really nice guy, and he really knew his history. And so he was describing how these caves had been used during the Civil War, how these caves had been used by slaves, how these caves had been used by Native Americans. So I've layered a lot of that symbolism into that image. And if you look closely, you'll find some graffiti. Those caves have ancient graffiti in them, so I've kind of layered my own graffiti in there. So that's pretty much my process. If you have any questions, just ask me and I'll tell you.
Thank you.